LittleBigPlanet reminds me of a time where the PlayStation 3 started to get really awesome original titles, the original LittleBigPlanet being one of them back in 2008. Since then we've got a sequel, a few spin-offs, and 2 portable versions on the PSP and PlayStation Vita. Now we've got LittleBigPlanet 3, the next entry in the main series, and the first LittleBigPlanet being made available on the PlayStation 4. This is the first main entry in the series that was not developed by the original developer, Media Molecule. Sumo Digital has been tasked with not only staying true to what LittleBigPlanet fundamentally is, but also building upon it. And for the most part, that is exactly what they did. There is no doubt about it, this is still the same series with the same charm that we've come to know and love. The story this time around focuses on a new creator named Newton. Newton awakens 3 slumbering titans that now threaten the very existence of Bunkum, which is the world you'll be exploring this time around. As Sackboy, or a girl, you'll be traveling around Bunkum recruiting the game's new characters, Oddsock, Toggle, and Swoop. What you'll notice quickly is the extensive use of voice acting during pretty much any portion of the dialogue. No more reading, nearly everything in this entry is accompanied by a voice, and they all sound really good. The writing is once again charming and cute, and the entire story is never anything that takes itself too seriously. It's a simple fairy tale story that keeps the flow of the game going without getting in the way of the fun. Sackboy, however, is still silent, which I love actually, only because of his insanely funny and cute facial expressions when responding to others that are talking to him.
Welcome to Bunkum Chummy Chum Chum, where the sky is strewn with circling clouds of imagination, all ceaselessly pumped into Bunkum's atmosphere by the pounding creative heart at its core, a magnificent moon of wonder.
One interesting change this time around is the inclusion of hub worlds, giving the game a slightly less linear approach. You can explore a hub world and seek new levels and quests while having the usual prize bubbles laying around. The real disappointment though of LittleBigPlanet 3's campaign levels is that there's hardly any. There's 20 levels, which is half of what you'd typically find in past entries. You'll finish the main storyline fast, and you'll find that there's not many side quests. Remember those really fun survival challenge levels from past entries? There's none here. The side quests this time around act like main levels in that they can be completed, which is fine, some of them are actually really good, but I do miss those survival levels a lot. The biggest evolution of LittleBigPlanet 3 is gameplay. It's still platforming, and yes, it's still purposely floaty in controls. But the big thing here is the addition of new tools, characters, and layers. Past games in the series usually had 3 layers in depth for Sackboy to walk on. This game has 16. The difference, however, is pretty subtle since most of the time you're simply bouncing or sliding from the background and foreground, traveling those extra 10 plus layers. The more noticeable additions is the new tools Sackboy can use, like Boost Boots or the Hook Hat. There's tons of levels that make excellent use of all these, and you can switch to whichever tool you want when playing. The biggest addition is the new characters, Oddsock, Toggle, and Swoop. Oddsock being a little doggy who can run and leap, Toggle who can swap from big to small and make use of his size and weight, then Swoop who can fly and actually pick up things. This adds an entirely different dynamic to the game, or at least it could, as these new characters are only used a few times throughout the main game. They are used really well in the few levels that they are in, but that's it. In fact, when looking at the extra layers, characters, and tools, it kind of baffles me that almost all the stock levels in the game play like past entries, simple jumping and platforming. I don't often find it fair to judge a game by saying, oh, but it could have had this, and it doesn't. But for here it's different. All the ingredients are already in the game, yet they aren't being used. This leads me to the good part of LittleBigPlanet 3, and it's always been the best part about this franchise, and that's creation. Sumo Digital may not have used their own tools well, but the community will. Jumping into create mode, it's still very familiar, except now you've got 16 layers and all the new objects, materials, power-ups, and characters to use. It's actually getting to the point where this game is becoming not overly complex, but more intimidating to create. If you never could build in this game, that's fine, you weren't going to do it here anyway, but as an intermediate builder myself who's invested hundreds of hours into creating levels in the other games, I truly feel out of my depth here. Maybe it's just me, but it feels like only the advanced can stick around and really make great use of these tools. Either way, you can still make a level with 3 layers, or 2, or even 1. You can still use all the old power-ups, old materials, never using complicated logic boards or anything, and still get something done. The most awesome part? Having access to community levels from LittleBigPlanet 1 and 2 still. And because these games always feel so familiar and they stay so consistent, you'll feel right at home getting into 3. Put on your saved costumes, maybe play an old level or two, and then dive into what the community is doing with LittleBigPlanet 3. One new addition to the game is the Poppet Academy, which are levels that teach you how to build through playing an actual level, allowing you to use the creation tools during the game to further progress. I really like this a lot. Granted, I knew how to use all these things already, but they'd be perfect for someone just starting, without making it super boring like how most of the tutorials tend to be. I would have liked to see more though. They had a puzzle-like aspect to it actually, because you had to manipulate the level that you were playing in to progress. But for a learning tool, they still serve their purpose. But there's only 14 of these levels, and they cover very basic building. So if you still want to learn something like logic boards, get super focused for a more forward tutorial, or read online somewhere. Some more downsides to LittleBigPlanet 3 is that it can be buggy. I personally didn't experience as many as others have, but I can vouch for them being there for sure. Like one time I was playing as Toggle, and every time I switched to Little Toggle, I was completely invisible. The online is also pretty unstable still, with disconnections and unnecessary lag.
Aha! I knew it! The marble's at the top of the tree. We'll use this elevator to get there. This music's pretty catchy, huh?
Overall, LittleBigPlanet 3 is for the most part what I expected it to be. It's still LittleBigPlanet with the same charm, art style, and really creative level design, but with more evolution in the building blocks of the game. That's exactly what this is with the new layers, characters, and tools. What I didn't expect is the underutilization of these new layers, characters, and tools. It's more of the same, and there's nothing wrong with that, but with a sequel, there should be more. And there is, but you'll have to check out the community for that. Also, less bugs, please. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say we don't want more of that. Keep them out of our LittleBigPlanet.